Well, now that the World Cup is over, we can all go back to watching what we were before. An endless news cycle that reminds us that pedophiles and white collar criminals really do get away with it. Yay. The Motor City is a brand new action revenge movie brought to us by Pozzi Ponsaroli. He's directed some pretty interesting indie films like Old Henry and Greedy People, and now he delves into the action genre with Motor City. The film stars Evan Richardson, Shailene Woodley, and Ben Foster, and the story is relatively simple like most action movies. It centers around Detroit 1977. We follow a man named Miller, played by Evan Richardson, who is on a revenge quest after his fiance's ex mob boss boyfriend, played by Ben Foster, frames him for a drug bust that he never did. Pretty cookie cutter, simple plot. We get into the bones of the story in the first 10 minutes. We get the setup. We understand all the characters. We understand all the motivations. We understand why there's a revenge plot, you know, beginning in the first place. And the gimmick to this movie isn't the plot, isn't the action. It's the fact that there's zero to no dialogue at all in this movie. I counted it out. Throughout the entire hour and 47 runtime, we have about 30 words spoken by about 10 characters. And when you can do a silent action movie or silent movie in general, and it can, you know, try to help you understand the characters, the motivations, the the emotion behind it all. You can look at John Woo's Silent Night back in 2023, starring Joel Kinnaman, a silent action movie about a man trying to get revenge for the death of his family. And then you can look at A Quiet Place that came out back in like 2019, directed by John Krasinski, a family trying to survive in this post-apocalyptic world where you can't make a sound. Both films, zero to no dialogue, and you understand the motivations, you understand the relationships and why these characters are doing what they're doing, you know. And with so this movie has to do that. So when you have a silent action character study movie, it has to rely heavily on the acting and on the sound. Sound wise, this movie's great. The soundtrack to this movie is really badass. It's rock and funky. It's it fits the vibe of the '70s. It's a lot of Fleetwood Mac, Donna Summer, David Bowie. It goes with the time, and I thought that was great. And the score was co-produced by Jack White of the White Stripes. Pretty great score. I was a real big fan of the character scores for Shailene Woodley and Alan Richardson's couple score. I thought that was really sweet and melodic, and everything works in terms of music. And there go all my positives for the movie. No, this movie was a huge disappointment. Acting wise, I know that Alan Richardson, Shailene Woodley, Ben Foster, Ben McKenzie, every actor in here, I know they can do a lot better than they actually did. And that's because they're reduced by the script to such animated and exaggerated expressions because you don't have the words to convey the emotions. You have to rely on these expressions. But there's no nuance to them. There's no subtlety. Ben Foster is reduced to a mustache twiddling cartoon supervillain with a master plan that seems like he's twiddling his fingers whenever things are going his way. Like, it's so cartoonishly exaggerated that it takes you out of the movie. And when you have a simple plot and you want to rely on these character driven actions and you want it kind of to be a character study, that can work when your characters have a personality. If you're not Alan Richardson or you're not Ben Foster, so if you're not the antagonist or the protagonist, you don't have a narrative structure that serves any other purpose than to serve these two characters. So Shailene Woodley, Ben McKenzie, everyone else, Marcus from the Bear comes out in this movie. Everyone else is reduced to such a minimal sideline, you know, player role, that player of the team role, that they don't take any action that doesn't benefit or go against either of the two characters. So that doesn't make for an interesting character study. It doesn't make for an interesting revenge film, especially when that's what you're relying on, because there's no action in this movie. There's about 20 minutes of action that we don't get to until the very end of the movie. So everything else before that is just build up and the revenge plot. And that doesn't make for an interesting movie. You get bored incredibly easily, incredibly fast. So after those first 10 minutes that carry, a big chunk of the story, the setup, you're just left bored. The pacing of this movie is abysmal. Like, like I said, there's nothing interesting about the movie if you take away the sound. All the characters are just there to serve the purpose for the antagonist or protagonist, and even the antagonist and protagonist themselves. There's no friction or hatred that you can really get behind in this movie. So, like, if you've seen, let me give you The Departed, directed by Martin Scorsese. You have Jack Nicholson and Martin Sheen, on the opposite sides of the law, both putting into motion these events through the side characters. You can understand the friction between them because they're on opposite sides of the law. You can understand that they hate each other and they're trying to take each other down and are using the side characters to do that. Here, you don't get that. You don't understand the friction. It's not really worth it. You're not invested into the revenge plot side of this movie, of a revenge plot driven movie. So, like I said, there's nothing interesting about this movie. There's nothing that calls your attention. I looked at my phone maybe like midway through the movie, noticed I still had about an hour left, rolled my eyes, but powered through because I didn't want to walk out of this movie, you know. And I kept thinking to myself, maybe it'll get better, maybe the action will start. No, it doesn't. The acting doesn't get any better, and even the action at the end of the movie feels generic. You could have had action and fight scenes that convey emotion, just like the Furious did earlier this year. Every punch could have, conveyed an emotion, either anger, hatred, revenge, whatever you want to call it, and have it mean something, and so the action is more interesting already. You don't have that. You don't have that at all. Instead, you have this messy, cluttered, generic, action sequence at the end of an already boring movie. Super disappointing. I really didn't want to, you know, not recommend it. I really wanted to go into this movie loving it. I saw the trailer and was super interested by the premise. I love it when directors and storytellers try to do something different that we're not really seeing, in Hollywood. And a silent action movie is just that. We don't get them too often. But can't recommend this one. Yeah, I'd say watch Silent Night, watch A Quiet Place. Don't watch this. So that's it for this review. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.